Okay. Okay. Really? So, okay.
Family, I am Mr. Pleasant.
And I'm Mrs. Pleasant.
And welcome to A Pleasant Love. Thank y'all so much for checking out another chocolate table talk. We have today a brand new couple joining our table talk. It's the Irohs. Give it up. Special effects, noise, streamers, explosion, boom. Nah, we all it. Mrs. Pleasant, Sierra, can you tell us how we know the Irohs?
All the Irohs. We have on my left, we have Edna and we have Richard Iroh. And me and Edna met. We didn't know we were in the same vicinity our entire lives. Believe it or not, Southwest Houston, A-Leaf, part of A-Leaf.
That's what.
Yeah, hold it down. H-Town. Ew. We were both in each other's area the whole time. So we met in OT school. It's a program, of course, if you get your bachelor's, this is a medical program. So I started a year before her, and she came after moi. And so we bonded while we were in school. We were working hard, and then we really connected after school when we had time to breathe, and life happens, and we grow, and we reconnected. And she has been, don't cry, such a blessing to me. And the relationship that we have developed over the past couple of years has been so enriching, so enlightening to me.
And likewise, of course.
Yes. And my husband has another husband pal.
What's up, Flat? What are you doing? All right, then.
Yeah, man.
So, as we developed, our families have developed, we just wanted to get their insight on some things as they approach their 10-year anniversary after us. We're approaching ours. And so we get a little insight on how we have all made it through. And they have a little one. That little one, we'll let them explain that. But if you want to introduce yourselves, Edna and Richard, talk to the people.
We are from the Houston area, or we've been in the Houston area for a long time. Yeah. I'm an occupational therapist, as Sierra mentioned, and
I'm a laboratory manager, but not the type of laboratory as you might think as far as health industry. It's more like a chemistry type lab where we mix chemicals, but I'm in charge.
He's in charge of the chemicals. Making sure nothing happens bad. Yeah, that's really important. That's super important.
Exactly.
So how did you guys meet?
I'll let him say the abridged version, and then I can add the details.
Okay.
All right, so here's the guy's version.
Okay, here we go.
That's the better way.
So the guy's version is, I went to church. I believe I was around 23, 24-ish.
You were on your 25th birthday, but
close enough.
We'll continue.
25, yeah. And I had been away from church for quite a while, and I felt like it was time for me to come back to Christ, to renew myself. And I went to church, and there was a lady that was preaching that day, and it's funny how I couldn't remember her name till early this morning. Her name was Darlene Bishop, and she was preaching, and one of her topics was, why don't men pray? And it got me moved to where I felt like, okay, you know what? Not only is it good for me to be in church on that day, on my birthday, but I really need to step up my game, getting closer to Christ. So, midway through the service, they asked if anyone was celebrating a birthday. I stood up and went to the front. She prayed for me. I wasn't the only one, by the way. But she prayed for me, and after service, a bunch of people that said, happy birthday, congratulations. And there was a particular lady that, came to me and said happy birthday to me. If you can't guess, the lady sitting right next to me. But at that time, I hadn't connected 2 and 2 together. I just thought, oh, it's a nice, beautiful lady coming to say happy birthday. It's all good. But then one thing led to another, and 9+ years we are here. And that is the guy's version.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
We met August 19th of 2007. I know that day because it's actually his 25th birthday. My mom actually went to a first service of the church program, and she was like, oh no, we all have to come for the second service. And I was kind of like, okay, yeah, and I went with her, sitting next to my mom, and it was the early part of the sermon that they were like, oh, anyone celebrating a birthday or anniversary, whatever, stand on up. God ordained, I guess you could say, but I was right, maybe one row or 2 rows behind him. And he was like, he was more towards the side. Anyways, so I was seeing everyone that was near me like, oh, happy birthday or, happy anniversary. And then I'm like, who is this dude in my head?
Okay? Dude. Huh?
And I was just like, I've never seen him before.
Nothing.
So, anyways, of course, at that time in my early 20s, I, kind of started looking like, okay, I've never seen you before. I want to see, Anyways, church service continued. It was an awesome service. I actually was paying attention. But every now and then I would kind of glance and be like, okay, is he taking notes? Is he serious? Like, just kind of doing my own kind of thing. And so when she went and did the whole, why don't men pray? And they did an altar call, he went up, and I was just like, oh, well, that's good. He's after the Lord.
Yes.
So you're just kind of like, okay, another check, kind of thing. So mind you, I'm still taking my notes, but I'm also kind of like, who is this dude? Yeah, just being very observant.
Yeah.
So, and like I said earlier, because they were doing the whole birthday anniversary thing, I only could get to people that was around me. I couldn't get to him by the time I would want to. Right. They were already kind of like, sit down. So in my mind, I'd already thought, okay, after service, I'm going to go ahead and just, say happy birthday. At least I can say something. Because normally I do not.
No.
You just go talk to anybody like that. So service rounds up. I'm with my mom, by the way. I have to emphasize that. So I pick up my stuff when, church is over and, people are saying, okay, have a blessed week. I'm like, yeah. I'm trying to go and say hi. So this one here.
What I tell y'all, ladies. Don't sit on your perch. You gotta speak it out. You gotta reach out. Wink. Okay.
So yeah, I'm getting all my stuff, getting my mom's stuff together. I look up. This one is nowhere to be found. And I'm literally like, like I literally have this, kind of thing. And
the first time I saw you in church, that happened to me. I was supposed to get to
So initially I'm kind of sounding like a little bummed. And my mom's in the bookstore like, Edna, come and, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just kind of like, dang, I just kind of missed an opportunity.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden I see him and I guess someone else is talking. I forget who she is. Well, anyways, the lady. No. It's like an auntie.
Okay.
But she was kind of like talking to him. She's like, oh, Richard. So I'm over here like, oh, okay, his name is Richard. All right.
Check.
And then she's like, so what are you doing for your birthday? And whatever. And I don't know if he was trying to say be nice and coy because this is kind of like an auntie in the church. But he's like, oh no, I don't have any plans. And I think she was really like abrasive, like, oh, no one's gonna come and cook for you or no girl or whatever. And I'm over here like, as much as I can to hear, well, my mom was like, come and get this kind of thing. Yes, this is kind of the real story.
I love this story.
And so I'm over here like, I'm trying to like get, trying to see if this is even something that even makes sense or whatever. And so he's like, no, I think you were saying something like,
honestly,
you had no plans.
I really had no plans.
Yeah, and then that you were going to be home. And it almost made it seem like, well, you didn't have anyone else at that time kind of thing. So I was like, okay, well, let me get my opportunity to at least go and say happy birthday. I turned back around because my mom wanted to buy a book or get a book signed, and he's gone again. And I'm just like, okay, maybe this is not meant to be. So I get everything that my mom ordered, and we're like heading out, and I see him like right when we turn the corner, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go say something. So I went, and I think I was so ditzy. I don't even know why I'm saying this on camera. But I was like, oh, it's your birthday. Like, that's exactly how I said it. And he was
and she married. Okay, next.
That's true.
Next.
That's true. So what exactly happened? And so I think at that point, you were just like, oh, well, thank you so much. And he gave me this hug. And I'm just like, okay.
Wait, he gave you a hug at the church house?
Yes.
Wow.
I typically don't do that.
And he typically doesn't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was kind of like our first meeting kind of situation.
So you did something that you don't really do.
Exactly.
And he did something that he don't really do. Come on, Holy Ghost. Okay. Keep on.
Exactly.
Yes.
But you know what? I thank God for that day because, like I said, if it wasn't like a birthday or something, I would have. There was no reason to be like, oh, hi. Like I don't.
Yeah. It was no reason
I don't
for
do
you.
that.
Everything.
So.
Yes.
So that's our story. That's our meeting story.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That was wonderful. I liked it.
All
Yeah.
right. So when this relationship go from a hug to all right, let's be exclusive. When did that happen? When you're like, all right, this is serious.
Committed relationship.
Yeah.
I think when we would say we were somewhat dating or whatnot, it was a couple months later.
Okay.
But we were. There was never a notion of we're dating other people. We were pretty exclusive.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. No, easy communication. You always like that. All right. So then, I guess Richard would be.
Yeah.
When did you think? All right. Okay. This is it. This is my queen. This is my woman I'm gonna be with. So when did you start moving in that phase?
Either January or February of it was the following year.
Yeah, it was 2008. That's what he said.
It was the first time, and by God's grace, the only time that I got the flu.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I was home, body aching, couldn't get up, and I was like, you know what? I've never felt this sick before in my life. And someone decided to go out of their way to come and stay with me at my apartment. And
Not overnight though. You know
I
that
know. You don't play.
Brought me soup and pretty much just stayed with me until I was kind of strong enough to walk her back to her car.
Wow.
And I said, you know what? If someone was willing to put everything else on hold to look out for me, that has to be something. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, I've been like, you know what? I think I'm done. I think this is it.
Is it?
Yeah.
There's no love without sacrifice. Awesome. How about you, Ed?
Well, me and Tierra are very similar here. So I have to put that disclaimer out because I don't think there was ever like, oh no, he's not the one. But I would ask it's the same question different ways, or just kind of see well how would he do in this kind of experience, or if he was exposed to blah blah blah. Yeah. So I think I had like a checklist in my head to make sure that I was comfortable with, okay, how would he be with kids, or how would he be with his siblings, or things like that.
Okay.
So I think for us, for me, I guess I don't have a time frame like he does. but I would say it was definitely before we hit our first year that I was just like, okay. I mean, because we were already exclusive. We weren't,
so
talking
when
to
did you,
anyone else.
actually, I guess let me say it this way. When did you say to yourself, I think I can marry this man?
I mean, our first meeting, and I think for anyone, when you first meet someone, you get excited, like, oh my gosh, like, because we actually were doing a discipleship in our church, and I think it really helped us to really stay like in the path.
In the path.
Even though it wasn't the easiest thing, but we there was like 5 levels, so we actually joined together and we did each level together. So we actually were growing together spiritually as well as like learning about each other outside of the church. So that was really nice for us.
Were there any So spiritually, religion-wise, you guys are practically the same. Culturally, was there any differences from either side in the beginning or during or when you got married that you had to like learn from one another or adjust your lifestyle?
That's a good question.
Adjustment seasons.
You want me to go first?
You can go first, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was born and raised in Nigeria, and I was there till I was 13 before coming to the States. And so initially, yes, I had the I feel bad for saying this, but I would say I had the African mentality when I first came, but after being here for so long.
What does that mean?
It means that there was a sense of pride over everybody else. And it actually did show in my education because, yes, I was smarter than a lot of kids in my class. But as the years progressed, I became less arrogant and less proud to being more like a timid to myself type of person. So being here for so long probably meshed with how I really am today. And so it made it easier for me to, I guess, not be so tunnel vision on when it comes to a mate or when it comes to someone I'm going to be with for the rest of my life.
I would agree with that. I think because he was here more, essentially, I mean, I met you at 25, so you were already here, about half of your life. So it was, I don't think we had a lot of those issues that other people may have if it was like, someone that just came versus someone that's been here.
Be here, gotcha.
For us as families, I don't think we had a huge or significant culture shock. I mean, we're not from the same exact like town or village kind of thing, but we're from like the same state.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we don't have the same language, but we don't speak the language anyway. So it kind of wasn't like a huge thing. But I think it really helped that he knew a lot of the, some of the customs or some of the culture, because when he did like present to my parents that he wanted to marry me, it wasn't just, I mean, he went all out. So I think that was helpful, because if he didn't, I don't think my mom would have received him well, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
And even when it comes to like the greetings and things like that, like from the jump, mind you, we didn't talk about this, but when I first met him, he had like what I guess people would say Rastafarian kind of hair.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Twists.
It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, but I think a lot of people, were kind of like, but funny enough, my mom knew exactly who I was mentioning when I mentioned him. I didn't describe him, but I was just like, oh yeah, there's this guy, that when I was just talking to her, and then she's like, I don't know how she said it, but she's like, when she saw him, she was like, I knew it. I don't think it was because at that time, when we were really growing in the church and everything, I think they were growing, pretty fond of him.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And my mom could see, and other people were too, because just his temperament and his character and like work ethic in church. Yeah. So when I, first was discussing it to my mom, it's as if she just kind of knew but didn't know kind of thing until he came. But he was very, very respectful to my mom. Gotcha. Very, like from the jump. And even now, like my mom looks forward to his hugs over mine kind of thing. So it is what it is.
All right. So how would y'all describe, I guess also in the adjustment season is, hey, I'm married now. Like this, a lot of people feel like, living with each other is the same thing. It's not the same thing at all when you're married. Right. So what do y'all say of y'all first year? How do you feel like your first year went in marriage?
That's a good question too. Our first year, if one had to be honest, our first year wasn't bad. I think we were, like you said, we were just adjusting with like living together. I was still finishing the clinical rotation part of school. Mm-hmm. He had just started like an entry level before he was like lab manager. So we were kind of like college level in terms of finances, but working together on our grind. Right. And I feel like culturally, the expectation is, when you get married, it's like you start your family. So even though we were kind of like, yes, we want that to happen, of course, by God's grace, we're not going to prevent that or whatnot. That wasn't our focal point. So I think having some expectations, that we weren't like all aligned with when it comes to outsiders, right. That was a little difficult. So our first year, I'd say, was a little difficult in the sense that we were on our grind and trying to just kind of get stable, At the same time, we also had other expectations.
Would you say the same thing, Richard?
Ditto.
So my question on top of that is,
okay,
how did you get, because a lot of young, educated people, when they graduate, the family or culture has a sense to tell us that we're supposed to do this, and that. And I feel like with our generation, we're taking more control of that and saying, no, that I'm not doing what grandpa, grandpappy, auntie, and them did. I'm gonna find what's best for my relationship and for my mental state, so that I can be a productive person, so that I can grow my family when we as a couple feel that it's necessary. So how did you guys figure that out? Because it's challenging, but it's also empowering because it makes you guys stronger together. But how did y'all navigate that?
Well, I would say we had one goal, and the goal was we knew that we had to build each other up from the get-go. Yes, it was challenging, especially from outside influences. I remember there were times where my dad would be praying, and it's like, okay, I get it, but it's not our focus right now. But when it comes to parents, I don't think. I guess this may be part of cultural. I don't think it's bad to say, hey, you know what, mom, dad, chill. So my go at it was, okay, mom, okay, dad, I hear you. I'll pray about it, and at least try to give them some sort of feel-good notion that, okay,
recognition.
Recognition that I hear you.
You understand.
I understand you.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, it's like we know what we're working with,
right?
Yeah.
And as long as we're able to put ourselves in a good box, so to speak, we were able to get on our grind and really get things taken care of and get things as much as under control as possible before going into, so when did the grandbabies come in?
Yeah.
And I think for anyone, because you mentioned that is a really good question that you stated, that with our generation compared to like our parents' generation, I think we always, whoever is in a situation that may seem stressful, because it is stressful, that you have to remember that people mean well, whether it's your parents, whether it's your, it could be relatives, it could be your church members. People really do mean well, and even though they can kind of come at you at an angle where you're just like, today, like not really? Today. They really mean well. So I had to. I think we both had to. I think because it affected me. I think more so than I think Richard. And then when it started to affect him, it was just kind of like, okay, we need to like recenter ourselves. Let's focus what we want and what we need to do in our household. Definitely continue prayer, but it's one of those things where you can't allow certain things to like infiltrate your home.
Right.
So I would say for whoever, that may be in a situation, whether they're starting their family or want to start their family or have other things that maybe, family members or other people may not be, considering, that know what the goal is. As he said, you have that one goal that you have within as a yourself. Couple. Keep it in prayer and just know that even though people mean well, you kind of have to take a little bit of what they're saying and kind of move on. Right. It's not something to focus on.
We're in depth. So it's 9 years. How long did y'all date before you got married?
Okay, so we met in 2007. We got married in 2011. So that was about 3.5 years. Oh, well, almost 4, because we met August and we got married in September. So you just say 4 years.
4 years, okay. And then you were married for 9 years, right?
Yeah, 9 years this past September.
Okay. So I'm going to just start from when you first said hello till now.
Okay.
What, if you could think about it, take your time, what was the hardest year or season, and how did you get past it?
There's no perfect marriage. Everyone has their trials and they have their successes. I don't want to call it failures.
Right.
And I feel like, for me, one that comes to mind was probably before we got married. Being a entry-level technician at the time, I was probably making about $11, $12 an hour, which was nothing. And
nowhere near that anymore. Just disclaimer.
Yeah. And to say, you have a girlfriend, potentially becoming a fiance, potentially becoming a wife. The finances do play a part, whether we like to. Exactly. And financially, I wasn't in a good place, a place that I would like to be. And the moment was probably, I don't remember what hurricane it was, whether it was Rita or whatever, I don't remember. But it was.
I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, it was a trying moment. That season was really hard, especially financially, because it was like, well, because I'm the oldest, I'm the first of my first child in my family, and the expectation is, well, since you're the first born and also the first guy, the expectation is you're the father of all your siblings.
Like the second father.
And it was really rough, because what my siblings needed at the time was not necessarily just a voice. They actually needed monetary, and being able to do that and looking at potentially marriage was very tough. So it was a trying moment, and I thank God that we were able to obviously work through it. And
everyone's doing well. Siblings are doing amazing.
Siblings are doing great. Go Toby. To me, I would say that's probably that comes to mind right now, one of the trying moments that we had. And, in marriage, there are different things that really weigh upon the marriage, and finance is definitely one of them. And if you don't have a good partner to work with you, it's going to be challenging.
And how did you guys work through that? Because it's like you have the family dynamic, you have your aspirations as a man and as a brother. How did you guys work through navigating that?
Honestly, I would say God really took control. And I don't want to sound so cliche about it, but
God is good.
At that moment, there was really nothing we could have done to change the situation.
I will say this. I'll plug in this because I know you have people watching, that women that are very educated, that maybe at a certain level and want to start a certain level in their marriage. I will say that, you never know what someone has or what someone may have in a season. You really always want to see people's character and in their walk with God. I mean, as he mentioned, when we started, to say that you want to get married, we weren't in a position to say that, okay, well, at least one of us, is doing great. Because like I said, I was in my clinical rotations. And yes, we knew that after you're done and you graduate there, you'll be making a certain amount. But starting off, especially as a man, But I thank God for my mom, and I thank God for people that knew his potential, and that even with prayer, I mean, I don't know if we'll go into that question, but I remember when one of our pastors he calls it a dangerous prayer. And he calls it a dangerous prayer because if you're already like dating someone or like interested in someone, it's hard to like, okay, turn off the feelings or turn off whatever and say, okay, God, is he the one?
Right.
Like, because you're already somewhat committed, you know?
Right.
So at that point, we were already kind of dating before he was like, oh, well, you need to go ahead and, fast and like focus on this. And we're just like, okay.
Yeah.
So, but getting back to that, I feel like when you know there's someone that's working hard, that has a good work ethic, good character, loves the Lord, I feel like it doesn't matter what they're making in one season. Like, don't focus on that. Gotcha. Because, I mean, now it's a different story. Completely a different story.
Amen. God is good.
So, like you said, it's just
very important. That's a t-shirt.
Potential.
Okay. So, was it the same season for you?
I guess, like you said, we don't have a year that was just difficult, and I'm thankful for that.
Or season, or time.
But I think in the beginning phase, like I said, because we were grinding so much, and then outside of people's expectations, we ourselves were just trying to like lay our foundation.
Gotcha.
So I would say that was harder, or the hardest.
So the question goes like this.
Okay.
In your growth as a couple, married, you want to have children, you want to have families, right? Can you give us a little tidbit of how challenging it might be, or how you get through what your heart desires versus what God has you in the season? Okay. I'm asking this question because me and him are in that situation where our heart desire is, yes, having a child, having a family. But in this season that we're in, we see how God is working within us. Mm-hmm. And it's like, not just yet. But I want it so bad, but not just yet. And those pitfalls that you hit along the process of wanting something so bad and you don't get it. And it's like, I'm going specifically with children, because there's a lot of women out here like me that want a family and it's not happening. You know what I mean? And it's like, how do you get through all those pitfalls? Oh, I think I am. Oh, I am. Oh, but it didn't. How do you get through that? And from your experience, can you talk man and woman? Because it's different from when a woman's experience versus a man.
I feel like everyone's journey is different. And kind of as my husband was saying, there's a lot of cliche things that you hear in church, like, oh, God is in control, or God will do it in his time. And yes, we believe all that. Don't get me wrong. But I also feel like there are raw emotions behind the fact that when you're waiting in a season and it's just not happening. And I wish there was more conversation about that. So I do see what you're saying there. My advice, though, I feel like for our journey, especially since in the very beginning, that wasn't really our focal point. But then when it became our focal point, it was like, okay, all right.
Supposed to happen. I did all these things right, Lord. I'm supposed to happen.
Exactly. And I can share this part. I felt like, even with my clinical rotations, like I chose rotations that I felt like, in the event, Lord, like we don't want to prevent this situation, that I didn't go for the harder. Or the,
Right.
So I my advice to anyone is go do what you, I guess, go on a path where you feel like regardless of what happens, God is in control. Don't set yourself up short feeling or thinking like this is how God wants it for you, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I feel like for me, I had to learn the hard way, because I resented the fact that I didn't do certain, rotations in the beginning. I mean, I'm thankful now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But in that season, I almost felt like, well, I did this way because, and it's like, I'm not the one to say yes, God ultimately is.
Yeah.
So, I what we did, especially, right before we actually had our beautiful daughter, is that I got into I got into this place where I was steadfast in prayer. I really was. I mean, I didn't miss it. I would go upstairs, even if he was tired. I would go upstairs and just start praying, because we heard from another pastor that also had a similar situation and prays for mothers or mothers in waiting. that if you buy something, let's say it could be something tangible like a little onesie or something, and really just start praying over it. Like just create an environment where you're positively thinking about it. Not necessarily stressing, but you know this is something that God has already promised you. Right. So I started doing that, and I really didn't stress about it. Now, when I did conceive, or when we did get pregnant, I was getting nervous, but I had already had that foundation of going upstairs and praying. So even as tired as I was just like, no, I'm not going to stop it now. And then I specified my prayers in terms of what I wanted and how I wanted things to go. You know, even though not everything worked out the way I wanted it, I feel like the end result, I mean, it's truly God. It's not something I can say, oh, I did this or I did that. Right. So I feel like God is with us in every season. And sometimes when we desire something so bad and we don't understand why it's not happening, it's hard. And like I said, I wish there was more conversations about that, because I think people just cover it with, well, God is in control. And yes, that's true.
He is in control.
But help
me deal with what I'm doing right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wish I had more of that during that time frame for us. But I will say that, you know, what helped me was just, you know, staying fast in prayer. Like I didn't really worry about when people would say certain things around me. I just focused on, okay, God has already promised this to me, and I'm just gonna run with it.
Amen.
So
from
from a guy's perspective,
it was tough, especially like my wife said, when we got to the point where, all right, let's start. You know, we actually, you know, and I will share some things, but for the record, there's some things that I won't share, just because there's some things that we keep private, and that's just us. But I definitely do agree that there do need to be a lot of conversation about this to help.
Yeah.
One thing that I had that I guess took me by surprise was that when we were like trying, and you know, it's like, okay, it got to the point where we were like, okay, it's time, you know.
And that takes away from everything.
It takes away from the intimacy.
Right.
It makes it more mechanical, and it wears you down.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
And it doesn't work.
All our friends who've had trouble, they tell me this. That did not work for them.
It doesn't.
It didn't work for them.
And then we decided, okay, well, what else could be wrong? Because there's the cliche, you know, God is in control. And God is in control. You know, God is very much in control. But what always comes to my mind is when the Bible does say that faith without work is dead. You can have faith. You're supposed to have faith. But you're also supposed to work. You know, and I'm going to segue off a little bit. I saw a meme on Facebook where someone said, there was a billboard that said, oh, woman, you're not supposed to do, I'm paraphrasing, but it says, woman's not supposed to do anything, the sperm's supposed to swim so many miles to get to the egg, so, you know, and it makes sense. But then I'm like, well, technically, the egg from the woman has to come down to a place that the sperm is gonna meet. So there still needs to be work done.
Yes!
So, segueing back here, it's like, okay, we're praying, we're believing, but what else is there? You know, I got myself checked. And I don't know a lot of guys that are willing to share this, but my sperm count was low. And that was something that took me by surprise. And I was like, well, you know, I mean, it really only takes one. But mathematically, you do need a certain amount for that one to hit. Right. And I wasn't there. So that was a factor.
At that time, though. I'm sorry to segue, but things, I think
the more you know.
The more you know, the better. When you know your situation, because he wasn't the only one that had a situation. I've shared with you that I had fibroids. So I feel like for people that are in that season, you want to make sure that both partners have been thoroughly explored, in addition to your prayers. Because if you're praying about something, but something out the root of whatever is not really being addressed, and that can also be a factor as well.
Right. So in essence, me bringing this up is just to say, whatever, if you're just relying on faith alone, yes, eventually will happen. But we as humans still have to do the work. And doing the work means you got to check yourself. You know where you're at, know what's advantageous, disadvantageous to you, and go with the best option. Definitely you want to do something with, prayer and allowing the Holy Spirit to lead both couples, because it's not just one, it takes two.
Right.
But I would just say explore what is out there. And this irks both Anna and myself when people are like, oh, for 10 years, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, I'm like, you did something.
There's a process and everything.
There's a process.
Where's the meat of the story?
God was there. But
God does everything. Doesn't matter what process you go through, whether you take any medication, whether you go through, a full process or whatever. But I feel like I agree with Richard that sometimes people, they kind of lead you to here, but they don't tell you how they got there. And it's a personal journey for anyone and everyone. Like I commend you on what you've shared, because it's not easy, especially as a man, to share certain things. But that has also changed, and it was just a tweak in medication. I think it was with your thyroid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's one of those things that when you know something, then obviously that can change, and then your story can be different. Right. So I also wanted to share something and I forgot. One of our dear pastors also mentioned that you want to pray about something, but not pray out of fear or pray out of anxiety. Right. So I think sometimes when you're in a season and it's like not working the way you want to, we tend to pray in like almost in an anxious way. And if you're doing that, pull away from it. And so what he told us and shared with us, which really helped us, was he's like, take vacations, because when you have children, you won't be able to see the way you want to. And that's very true. But he's like, really take time to take care of yourselves. Yeah. Like, don't stress about it. It's going to happen. Okay. And I think when people say that, and when you hear it enough times, it can actually aggravate you. Like, I know it's going to happen. Leave me alone. But I feel like when he said it, especially since he was in a position where he had a similar situation, that I think you how can you say it? You connect to people better when you know they've had a similar situation. Right. But when he mentioned, yes, take time to like go on vacations, like this is the time. And I definitely agree with that, because I want to say we went to see your parents in August, and in September, I think it was towards the end of September we found out. So and we've been going on vacations every year. But every year prior, because recently we had COVID, yes. But even last year, we've been doing family trips, but no one-on-one trips. But yes, because I think for me, and I think he also noticed my pastors and some other people that have shared similar things, that you don't want to be praying out of fear or out of anxiety, right? Because it's not going to get things done. Because you're going to be stressing about it, and your body. Even for some people, like some people may show hypertension because they're stressing. Some people may not show it, but internally, if you're stressing about something, it's not going to happen. So you really don't want to make things, as he mentioned, mechanical or forced.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of because I guess I don't, maybe I have, but I don't intentionally, if I'm anxious or if I'm worried, I put on peace or joy. And I've done that since we were in OT school, because I had anxiety very bad in OT school. And so I had to change my thought about how bad it's going to be versus how good it can be, and how good God can use me in whatever situation. So I thank you for, God is good, because we just, if you didn't catch nothing from that right now, we got all of it for our benefit. Hallelujah, praise God. If you didn't, I don't even know if we should even finish anything else, because that was like a lot of meat right there. It was so perfect.
I needed to hear that.
Thank y'all.
They definitely that.
Oh my God is good. My God is good. Okay.
So we got. I do have to have. I'm a man. I'm a man. I gotta figure something. No, I'm a man. I'm not the man. I'm a man.
Amen.
I gotta figure. I gotta.
That's the word. He is a man, not the man. Holly. Okay.
So what keeps the Irohs strong? What keeps y'all together? What keeps, because a lot of these marriages don't last as long no more.
Prayer, absolutely.
Most
you
definitely.
have to stay steadfast in prayer, but having fun. Like, okay, and I can say this, and I know you know where I'm going with this. Y'all know Richard to be the silly one sometimes, but can be very stoic and serious.
Yes.
It never fails, and I'm glad that at least our little one, my mini me, is like me with this. I get excited for like holidays or birthdays, or it could be simple things, and I'm just like on 10.
Yeah.
And I'll ask him, because out of respect, my husband, I'll ask him about certain things, and he's like, no, or just no. And I guess an example, I was talking about the I think it wasn't Festival Lights, but something similar to that. We were looking at making a day trip to go to College Station. And I was so excited. I was gonna buy the tickets and all this other stuff. And I mean, when I say excited, I'm just like, yeah. And he's just like, no. But what tends to happen is as things like approach, and I'm kind of like, kind of calming down. He'll come right up. And I'm just like, oh, so y'all do that?
I was like, I'm not thinking about that no more. That was last week. But I mean, what happened? Like, we
And then we go, we have the most.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's just like, for me, I get tired. Like, when we went on the cruise, I was just, every little thing, I got so excited. I was already taking pictures, and he was just like, oh, okay. And then when we were finally driving there, and I'm finally like, okay, when I'm thinking about the line and getting to the room, he was super excited. And I'm just like,
because y'all go on emotion. It's pure emotion. I know what it is.
Wait till it actually happens, and then
like y'all put all the emotions in the planning. I'm like, we're not actually there yet. Like when we get there, that's what
crossing our hands.
Yes, we are. It's frustrating.
We gotta have that separate video.
But that's what makes us, unique. Because I think, I don't know what
you have to. You really have to know your partner.
Yeah.
And that's one aspect that Edna knows me, and I know her. And yes, in the past, I was a no. And you can attest, I'm slowly becoming...
turtle.
Yes, but it's like... you have to know each other,
Yeah.
But I enjoy getting on that, knowing that eventually he'll loosen up. Yeah, so I agree. You have to know your partner, because I think if he was on 10 all the time, I'd be like, who are you?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I can handle it.
So I get it.
2 10s is not a...
Can't be
that's
always
dangerous.
there.
That's
Out there
dangerous.
jumping off mountains.
You do things...
Like
exactly.
Yeah,
You do things off
did y'all just jump off a mountain?
Yeah, we did. What any dreams or aspirations do you have for the next 10 years? Since you're about to hit 10 next year, you can do 5, whatever. So what aspirations or dreams do you have individually or together?
You want to take this first?
Okay. In the next 10 years, I think we're in our 30s where, whether you have a mortgage, you got student debt, you got all these different things going on. I would
Mr. Biden, please.
I would love to expand our family. Of course, get closer to God. I think every year. My birthday's coming up, so I'm excited about that. And it's on a Sunday, so for me, even with COVID, I actually wanted to just take time out just to thank God for just getting to this point, and even with this crazy year and everything. So I think just growing more in Christ, of course, expanding our family, getting some of these debts out of the way, and being able to travel. I would love to travel more with kids or without. What else? I know Richard was considering, well, we both have been talking about different things in terms of businesses or some things of that nature. So I'm not sure what that would look like right now in the, grand way of talking, but what do you think?
If the opportunity arises, I wouldn't say no to owning my own lab. And that's interesting because ever since I was little, I've always wanted to work in some kind of a lab setting. Actually, more in the health. When I was younger,
he really wanted to do like bio
intrigued.
stuff.
I was intrigued
biochemical
that
stuff.
Galveston has the highest level of security for like all the dangerous viruses and stuff. It's in Galveston. And when I found out, I was like, oh my God, that would be so cool to work with those. But then, after seeing a couple movies and seeing, Outbreak, I was like,
Thank you, Lord, that he's only working with what chemistry, right?
Yeah. So,
not biochemistry.
But if I ever did want to do anything, it would probably be like DNA sequencing, things like that.
I thought that was
I did DNA sequencing in college, and it was fun. And that was something that I wanted to do. So if I decided to branch on my own, it'll probably be more like testing type business than anything else.
That's pretty
but
cool.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, definitely having less debt. Having more family and just being able to travel.
I like it.
All right, so this is a quick one though.
Fast round.
It always happens. It always goes against our instructions. That's fine, but the instructions are: this is quick. Does dot.
So we have
yes
to,
or no?
points?
Him, her,
You can point.
Yeah.
Me and you.
Okay.
Her.
All right, we're gonna ask the questions and the quick.
Here we go.
First question.
Wait.
First answer that comes to your mind.
Hold on. You're asking both of us?
Yes.
And y'all have to agree like that.
Whoever decides to answer should answer, or we both have to
No,
answer?
I think it's like who is something, and
Yeah.
it's like either you or me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Y'all ready?
I guess.
All right. Who is the cleanest?
Me. I thought it was first.
That was quick. You didn't utter it. You didn't. Okay.
I thought we were gonna point, but okay. That's fine.
He's me.
Not that I'm dirty.
She's not dirty.
But I feel like he went to, I can say boarding school when you were younger.
Yeah, I did.
So
Military
in terms of
boarding school.
ironing, in terms of like, getting things done in a timely manner,
ROTC in him.
he is more efficient, I would say.
I ironed my shirt and jeans before coming here.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from. Okay. Got it.
Who cooks better?
Me.
Ethan.
What's your favorite dish to cook?
I love it.
It varies.
Jello
Well, for him, okay.
You just say Joel, right?
Yeah.
You heard it? So I guess you're gonna have to end the show for us one day, huh?
Booyah.
Oh, hey! We about to eat.
Since y'all
Okay.
have a child, who's the
More the disciplinarian.
Neither one of us.
Neither one.
No, but you know what?
Dog, do something. Don't hit your head. Don't do something over there. While I watch my stories.
We both have different parental styles that complement
There you
each
go.
other, thank God, because we both believe in the same things. But I think because she's the first one right now, and she's just our miracle baby, she knows when she's not doing something right.
She'll look at you. And still do it.
Yeah, and still do it. So we started this whole corner, like, go to the corner thing. And that's kind of we're seeing how that goes. But she's adorable, and she really doesn't need that much discipline. That's coming from a spoiled parent, right? But she really doesn't need that much discipline. So we're thankful
Coming
about
from
that.
a guy who went to boarding school, she's a
Yeah, and when you say come here, and then you change your tone and say come here, she'll come. So it's not those kids that are like no, and fall apart on the floor. No. She doesn't have those tantrums.
So what is, this is not a me and her question, what is your love language, and what love language do you best give?
Okay.
Hey.
I think my love language is words of affirmation. What do I best give? This is where we're interesting because people, or let me just speak on myself. I think we tend to give what we want, even though it may not be the same for the next person.
Right.
I can affirm this man
all day long,
but that's not what gets him.
Right.
I mean, I think it helps, but that's not what gets
So
him.
I
give what I want.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Richard.
Mine is actual acts. Like I need
Physical
evidence.
That's what you receive.
That's what
That's
his
what I-
his love
that's
language.
my desire.
Yes,
that's what you
that's
give?
his. No.
Oh,
I guess that's what his
desire.
desire.
Okay,
That's his
gotcha.
desire.
Okay. So what do you give?
It's the same for me. I
Oh, so
I-
really the
yeah.
opposite. Okay.
Like 2 square pigs, trying to.
But you know what? I
need a
think we're
circle
more
and a-
conscious of that now.
Yeah.
Because I think it was kind of getting to a point where it's like, okay, we're clearly not on the same wavelength. Like, we need to figure this out. Because when you are working so much with COVID and everything, and then you have a little one that is lit all the time, you tend to kind of only have so much time where you're just like, okay, like, you know. But I think now we're like, okay, I need to actually give him this is what he responds
needs,
better to, and then, you know, vice versa.
So the next question: did the love language
Off script
change?
again.
Off script. The love language changed, didn't it?
No,
From
I
when
think
you dated versus when you got married, did it change?
I think when you're dating, it's different though.
When
For
you're
at least for
dating,
him.
yeah. When you're
Okay.
dating,
I think our love language has stayed the same.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like when we were dating, it was different. We were in different places in our lives.
I got you. Okay.
All right. So one final question: if you
This
were
question.
able to go back to your younger selves, or a couple similar to yourself about to walk down the aisle and get married, what advice would each one of you give to that person before they say "I do"?
Interesting. Okay. I think I would say don't have stringent or restrictive expectations. I think as a woman, I think it's important to love your partner, flaws and all, love God and trust God in the process.
Okay, from a married man, I would say definitely know the love languages, know yours and know your partner's, and know and learn how to give your partner her love language. Because that makes things work.
So anything before you guys let you go, is anything y'all want to shout out? Any church or pastor or anything you want to plug?
Your mama, your daddy.
It's a moment in the spotlight.
Hey mom, hey dad, Susan, Donnie, Toby, who else we got? Meeks. Sorry, Meeks.
love it.
Anybody else I forget? Sorry, I love you from the heart. But of course, Sophia.
Yeah.
We love you.
There you
Yeah,
go.
my whole baby.
There you go. There you go. Child.
I'm sure you're gonna see this years from now and be like, oh my god.
God.
But we love you.
Well, we want to tell you guys from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for driving all the way across Houston, Texas.
Yeah, thank y'all so much.
Because Houston is big if y'all don't know that.
Houston's pretty
It's
big.
an hour drive sometime depending on where you live. But I appreciate you guys coming out here
Yes.
and coming on the Chocolate Table Talks and sharing your love with us. It means so much to us that you guys
Yes,
entrust us.
We learned a lot right now.
Because we learned a lot, and you don't even know how much you guys have blessed us. We're in similar situations, but we learn so much from you guys every day, every time we're with you guys. And I hope you all embrace the Irohs because they coming. God has some things.
We're gonna find some other things to do with them.
God has some things
We're
in
not
store.
done with them.
In store. Hallelujah. And pray over us that we all gonna be okay through this COVID.
Yes.
I hope you guys are being safe out there. I hope you, even through this holiday, see I got the Christmas on already.
We're already ready. December 25th cannot come.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Christmas is our
on.
favorite holiday. We love you guys. We'll see you on the next video. Please share, like, comment, and please subscribe. So pleasant love. Y'all have a great day. Love you. Bye.